Welcome to another episode of Meaningful Measurable Marketing with the Data Dames. I'm Jen Carroll.
And I'm Annalisa Hilliard.
If you like what you hear today, you can connect with us online. Our website, datadamesmarketing.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Jen C. Writer.
And sometimes I'm on Twitter. when I am, it's A. Hilliard M.
And you can find us both on LinkedIn as well as our company page. So today we are doing episode 2 of our series on yes buts in digital marketing. So just to refresh people's memories, if you didn't catch our last episode, which was actually our first one in yes buts, why we're even using this slightly offensive,
but not really.
yeah, slightly humorous. Okay, but not really? No. Yes,
True.
buts in digital marketing. What does that mean? Most of the time, these foundational digital marketing tactics are a yes for clients or for businesses, but there are always considerations. And maybe after you've looked at all the buts, you might decide, this might not be quite right for my company right now. So last episode, we talked about search engine marketing, and we started with that because we do have a lot of clients who ask us about search engine marketing. Many of them are doing it right now and they're not getting any results, or they want to know if they should start campaigns. It's also another area where we often see businesses taken advantage of. So we started with with paid ads and social ads last time, and we called it very appropriately the short game, because
Return.
if
it's done well.
right. But the moment there's the but, right? The moment those ads
stop.
are,
You stop the campaign. You put, you decrease the budget. You see fewer leads.
right. So it's a very much of a short-term, short game strategy. And that's why our next yes but is search engine optimization.
Woo!
I feel like there should be like some applause from our...
Yay. Which one?
There we go.
Thank you. No, really.
Search engine optimization happens to be near and dear to you, Annalisa. You want to explain why?
Yeah, I feel like it's family. I've been doing SEO almost 10 years.
Yeah. Coming up on...
Decade. Holy crap.
Yeah. I know how fast time goes.
Yeah.
One of the things we'll be hitting on in today's episode is how SEO has changed.
Yeah, in the past decade, obviously a lot has changed with search engines and search engine algorithms. And so when that happens, SEO changes as well.
So just a quick overview. We're going to be covering 3 main points, and those are
rankings, focus, and outcomes.
Okay. So our small business...
Don't be too excited, but be excited.
Okay, well, it's
just be the right amount of excited. Do you know how to be the right amount of excited? I don't think you do.
I'm usually like really excited or just not excited at all. So.
Yeah. I've noticed that and spending a lot of time around you.
So what's something that I should get excited about? SEO?
You should get excited about SEO.
But I'm a content person. Are we going to have to talk about what those two have to do with each other?
Oh, you bet.
Okay. All right.
Sigh. Maybe we need transport to a better place in the podcast.
Oh, right there.
Today's beer, Platform Brewing Company, brought to you by Cleveland, Ohio.
And their beer is very good. What are you drinking today?
Hey, something has to be good in Cleveland.
Oh.
I was watching the Browns Ravens game prior to this, but when the score went like 24, 21?
I don't know.
21 or 24. I think it was 24-6. Ravens. I was like, well, let's go record the podcast.
Right? This game is over.
I was really rooting for the Browns today because
You're actually an obnoxious Steelers fan.
I'm a Steelers fan. There are no such thing as obnoxious Steelers
Yes,
fans.
there are. But anyway.
Yeah, the Ravens are really the tougher team for the Steelers, so it would be great if the Brownies could beat them today. I think that's going to take like a little miracle.
So that's the beauty of podcasting is you couldn't see my eye roll on that.
That is the beauty. No one wants to know about that.
So back to the beer. So Platform Brewing Company in Cleveland. If you've
one
never
thing Cleveland got right.
If you've never tried their beers, I have yet to have a bad one.
Try it.
They're excellent.
Which one were you currently drinking? Paranormal Mosaic.
Now there's a name.
IPA.
Yeah, there's a name.
It's a great name.
It is a great name.
They have another one called Haze Jude.
That's
for all you Beatles fans out there.
That one.
But I also have a nephew
favorites.
named Jude, so it's also among one of my favorites.
That one is really good.
Platform.
I was not drinking Platform today.
That's too bad.
I know. I was actually drinking Southern Tier, which has a tasting room in Cleveland. I am a huge. I am actually a huge fan of their pumpkin, and I had some on draft the other night.
I would say you're not the only one.
I know it is really good. Right now, all the pumpkin beers are out. Of the ones that I've tried, Southern Tier is definitely the king, the pumpkin. They are the ones.
Good joke.
It was an attempt. It was an attempt. I actually today was not drinking Southern Tier pumpkin. I was drinking Southern Tier's Autumn IPA, and it was really good. So I highly recommend Southern Tier's Autumn IPA.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so we were doing What Are You Drinking in previous podcast episodes, and somehow we kind of were forgetting that one.
Well, that's the problem when you record a podcast at different times of the day.
Right.
If you're recording in the morning and we're giving you beers, yeah.
You should be suspicious.
You should be worried about us.
Yeah, you should be. So we will move on to our next segment, which is our small business shout out.
Yeah, small business shout out.
And today we want to highlight our friend Celia King, who is Aaron's McSwain. By the way, that she has a great story as to why her company is called.
Or
Aaron's
is it
McSwain.
Aaron's McSwain who is Celia King?
You could go either way with that.
I think it's really something we'll have to ask her what she prefers.
So, in case you'd like to know what Celia King does.
Because you want to know.
You absolutely do. She specializes in leadership training and development and team building. And
actually, she did some work with Jen and I together as Data Dames.
Yeah, and she's been...
And we're
better because of... Yeah, right. It's right. She's
now we have no quirks whatsoever.
Oh, that is so wrong.
Well, I mean, you are an INFJ, so...
And you're an INTJ who... And we both geek out.
That's probably for like a whole nother podcast.
We better not go down that path.
But Celia helped us do our inventory.
She did. Yeah. And also figure out what our challenges and our strengths are. Maybe not
in working together.
Maybe opportunities is better.
Yeah, that's the corporate way of saying
weaknesses, yeah. Because we don't have any weaknesses. No. But anyway, check out Celia at aaronsmcswain.com. She is a very dynamic and she's just she's a dynamic consultant and trainer, and she works with horses too, by the way. That's a highlight.
That's a really funny way to like transition. I was like, she's a dynamic leader and she works with horses.
I know. Well, that's because she uses horses her leadership training, and that's pretty unique. And
it is.
So you should definitely check out Celia.
Do it. You'll be a better leader.
Yeah.
Better person in general.
Yeah. So agreed. All right. So back to SEO.
SEO, yes, buts.
Mm-hmm. So again, we talked about 3 key things that you should consider.
Okay, so the first one is rankings. And what I mean by rankings, okay, so everyone says, oh yeah, I want to get my, I want to get my website, or I want to get my web pages in Google search coming up number 1.
Do people still say that?
Oh my gosh. Yes, people still say that, and it drives me insane. So with clients, we try to put proper expectations around rankings, because rankings are important, but they're not everything. And what I mean by that is, okay, so we were talking how SEO has evolved over the last 20 years that it's been kind of in existence. And initially, in very early days of SEO, you'd do a search in Google and you would get like 10 results. And it would just be links down the page, 10 results. And so, that's kind of where the whole like, oh, I want to be number 1. I want to be number 1 at the top of the 10 link list. And as they've evolved and they've brought on advertising, so you have, paid search in search rankings with and next to organic rankings. And so SEO is organic rankings. And so Google has put ads above organic rankings. And so organic rankings have been pushed down the page. And if you're talking purely like number 1, top of the page, like that's not even possible anymore. Because the first thing that you see in a search result is always an ad.
Those search engine marketing ads that we talked about last time.
Right. And obviously that has evolved as well. You used to be able to tell more easily just by looking. Like the ads used to have like a yellow background to them. And now they've changed it where I think it just says like ad beside it real small.
So it's even more subtle.
It's definitely more subtle
than it used to be.
And then you have like local rankings. And so what is called local packs. And when you're doing a search that brings up local businesses, services, products, you'll see a local pack come up. And so that's another thing that pushes organic rankings down. You'll have ads, and then you'll have local pack, and then you'll have organic rankings. And again, I think there's like 5, usually 3 or 5 local listings. Then you can like see more, but like they usually show like 3 to 5. It used to be, originally it was like 7. So the organic rankings like really got pushed down the page. But
with that local pack, is there any magic to getting well, there's never any magic. It's a complex algorithm, but how do they even figure out what should be in the...
They use that a lot. I mean, similar to organic rankings, but I guess what I'm trying to say, I could do a search, let's say for ice cream. And Jen, you could do a search for ice cream.
And I would definitely search for ice cream.
Who wouldn't?
Right.
And we could get 2 different results. Like our results pages could look very different. And there's different reasons for that. One is that if we are signed into our Google accounts, which we both have Gmail.
And a lot of people do.
And are using Google search for when we're on the web, which again, most people are, Google learns kind of your preferences and tries to predict what results you'll prefer. And so...
Just Google's trying to get into my head.
Of course. Yeah. But yeah, so Google, they'll show different results based on the searcher and their personalization. And then another thing is that if you are doing a local search, if it does bring back local search results, one thing that is a big factor is proximity. And so if you're searching for
ice cream,
it will automatically bring up local ice cream shops. And if I do like
my favorite is Handles or Taggart's. Oh, yum.
Right. And Taggart's would probably come up if you were searching from the office. Taggart's would probably come up before Handles because Taggart's is closer in proximity to where you're searching from.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the whole thing behind it not being universal. And there's other things as well.
Of course,
there's like over 200 ranking factors.
Okay, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Anyway, so that's one of the things, and then the other thing to think about is that if you do want to be number one, which again that's not actually a thing, you're going to put a lot of time and effort, depending on the competition of what your business services products are. So like ice cream in Canton, Ohio would be pretty competitive. Like lawn care would be pretty competitive. And so the more competitive, the more time it takes to perform well in local search. And some of that has to do with just the length of time that you've had a presence on the web. That kind of signals to Google authority. Like if you've been on the web for 10 years versus someone who just, put up a website yesterday. And
just started making ice cream yesterday.
Started a business yesterday. It's going to take time for that business to build an online presence in a way that Google thinks is authoritative from a search engine perspective. They want to kind of get a history of how people use your site, and kind of get a judgment of quality. And that's like a whole rabbit trail of things that we can touch on in the future.
Well, some businesses obviously care about local, and others are competing more at a national level. What's...
Yeah, so if you're not, if it's not a local thing, say you do an e-commerce site or whatever, and you're competing nationally, well, you're still going to have your big competitors that have been around for a long time and have, a huge share of the market. And, one of the things that Google has in their algorithm is kind of a popularity. So pretty much anytime you do an e-commerce search, one of the first 5 organic results is going to be Amazon, right? So you have that competition as well. And none of this is to say that you can't make any headway or that you can't compete. It just takes time. So that's where the long game comes in. It takes time. It takes good strategy. It takes effort in creating good content. It takes effort in building a website that people engage with, and it takes time and effort.
And that's actually a perfect segue to our second point, which is the need to focus your SEO efforts.
Actually, I want to say one more thing about the rankings.
Sure.
So a lot of times, again, I still hear this like, I want to rank number 1 or whatever. And in the same way that I hear it, small business owners often hear it. So my dad has a car dealership in Pennsylvania, and he gets digital marketers calling him all the time and saying, hey, I can get you, I can get you number one in Google if you give me, $50 a month, or usually it's like $200 a month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever get a pitch like that, you can pretty much just hang up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are no promises and there is no guarantee in digital marketing. And I think they just hope that the business owner won't really check on it, or, personalized search will put them number one for their own business, and things like that. So yeah, that's definitely something to listen for when you're talking to someone who might be pitching you digital marketing and SEO specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the next point is focus. And we kind of had this in the first one, SEM,
Mm-hmm.
with goals. And basically, we can't stress enough that it is important to have
an overall marketing strategy that aligns with your business objectives and goals.
Correct. Yeah. So if you don't have that, again, it's a lot of money that you're putting into something and time, and it's going to be hard to measure the results and even know what to measure unless you have, a solid plan where you have quantitative goals and good reporting to know what you're hitting on and what you're missing and what you need to improve on.
And this might be just a good point to make here is that's one of the reasons we've, Annalisa and I have stopped offering standalone SEO and content marketing services, because we have found over and over again that SEO and content marketing are not successful unless they are tied to a marketing strategy that points back to business objectives and goals. They just don't. They never meet expectations.
So that's a perfect transition and into our final point in talking about outcomes. Obviously, you do want to know whether you're, making headway, or you're improving, or you're moving in the right direction. But a lot of times, just because of human nature, we are like, oh, if we don't see results immediately, we pivot.
Oh,
and,
no.
Yeah. The buzzword of the year.
2020 pivot.
Thanks, COVID. Oh, no.
no, thanks, COVID.
It's not just COVID, but yeah, that's a buzzword. But anyway, you have to give it at least 6 to 12 months to start seeing results for organic, so SEO efforts. And a lot of times that you're like, oh, 6 to 12 months, that's a half year difference. What do you, that's crazy. And a lot of that has to do with competition. So obviously the more competitive of area that you're in, the businesses that you're going up against, the more competition, obviously the longer it takes to see results. And during that time, obviously you have to continue to be building that SEO, building the optimization of your website, building content that will support your optimization, and
supporting your optimization could actually include, for example, search engine marketing, which the short game can do a lot of fill-in while you're waiting for organic results to increase. Right. Again, building out content. Oftentimes, one page about a particular, within a particular subject area is not enough.
Yeah, especially if it's competitive.
Links. I don't know if you want to mention something here about links. I know.
Yeah, so having a good link structure, obviously internally on your website, so that people can get to the pages that are most important. Obviously interlinking between pages that are relevant to one another. So a category page will link to a product page.
What about backlinks?
And so that's like a whole nother thing, is getting links from other sites. Again, is kind of an authority thing. If other people are linking to your website, to your content, to your products, that's kind of a signal. If they are relevant sites, and that sites that also have authority with Google, them linking to your site shares kind of value in Google's eyes, kind of gives your site more value, and helps you with quote unquote rankings.
And that's why, media interviews and other things like that, like maybe what
longer form content,
right, that you would think of as like maybe some traditional old school PR or things like that. That's why those efforts done well and in a targeted manner are valuable. So not only do they build your brand, they also help build your authority.
Right. So, supporting efforts can be any of those other areas of digital marketing, and really just having a holistic approach to digital marketing, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
So speaking of outcomes, maybe we should talk a little bit about the kinds of outcomes that are meaningful, especially since, this is the Meaningful, Measurable Marketing podcast. What kind of outcomes are meaningful? And that depends, I'm sure, right?
Sure, absolutely. But, for marketing and SEO, some of the things that you will see commonly are assisted conversions or micro conversions, where you're seeing, increased time on page from when you optimize the page. The optimized page is more engaging. It's keeping people's attention longer. It's informing them better than what was there before. And some other assisted conversions can be number of entrances. That can be a really good metric to look at to determine, how well your page is quote unquote ranking. The further down the page you get, obviously, the less likely you are to get that traffic from the search. So entrances can show, hey, I've improved the number of people coming to the site, coming to the site through this page. Can show you like, oh, I must be improving my position in search results. So that's one thing. And then bounce rate is another metric that you'll often come across. That has to do with once traffic comes to your page, if they don't engage with the page at all and they bounce back to search, it's counted towards your bounce rate. And there are, a handful of other assisted conversions that you'll come across fairly often in SEO.
And some of them are going to depend on, again, what your goals are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the big one, obviously, is leads.
For lead gen sites.
And it could be call, a phone call, or filled out a form. Those are usually like the two more common ways that leads are counted. So organic can help with that.
And I guess messaging, obviously, on the page is critical.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, messaging is always important, always going to be important.
So since this is the yes buts, a big yes but in digital marketing, I think it's important to explore briefly, at least, is SEO for everybody? Is SEO for every company?
I would say that the basics of SEO.
So SEO 101.
SEO 101 is absolutely helpful for all websites.
So example being like writing your meta tags, writing your title tags
Right.
and meta descriptions.
Right. Yep. And, doing keyword research, like that is helpful for all sites. And obviously there's going to be, a spectrum. So if you only do meta tags and keywords, hopefully you will see some improvements. But the full effect that you can get from doing more in depth, SEO, pulling it into user experience, looking at more technical SEO things like crawlability of your site and indexability, structure of your site, etc. Like really digging into kind of the guts of your website. That would, along with meta tags and content messaging and everything else, like the more things you do, obviously you're hopefully building on that gain. So yes, it will help you to do, some of the basics. But your expectations should be kind of in line with the other things you're doing in addition. So again, are you doing content messaging? Are you, how deep does your strategy go?
Yeah. And speaking of content messaging, another perfect segue. Our next yes, but we'll probably...
You get to talk.
I was going to say, I'm going to be doing more talking.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about content and why it's almost always a big yes, but there are some buts to consider.
There's always buts.
There are always buts. I know.
A lot of buts.
Everybody has a butt? Okay, here we go.
Everybody poops?
Oh, no. That kid's book. Okay.
Sorry. Reminded me of that.
So our final segment that we have added recently is what are we learning? And that's because learning is one of our... Yes, and a core value for us at Data Dames. We always want to be learning.
Absolutely.
So, Annalisa, what are you learning about?
So, I was supposed to have something personal.
You don't have to.
But instead of learning, I think we can like split up this segment a little bit and say, what are we excited about? What are we learning?
Okay.
Whatever.
What are we excited about?
So
okay,
what
well,
I'm excited about,
morphing.
and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is football is back. And although this is 2020 and nothing's the same, and there's like, hardly any of the teams are allowing fans to come to the games. So personally, I'm excited about the NFL return. And yes, I know there's a lot of controversy with the NFL, and that's legitimate, and it has given me pause, and I have thought about, where I stand and what I want to support with the NFL. But, part of it for me is that I grew up watching football, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers with my family, and my brother and I to this day get together and watch the games together. So that's really what it's about for me, in addition to just watching great athletes perform. So what I am learning work-wise, I am reading a book called Algorithms of Oppression by Sophia Noble, and it is a book that highlights the inequalities even that we have in search. Obviously it's important to what we do at Data Dames, but it's it's something that I care about personally, and I want to be educated about, and to listen to the conversation, and to figure out how I can be part of kind of changing that in some way, and I'm sure it'll be a small way, but I just want to be aware and be
an
informed
advocate,
and be an advocate. So
yeah.
How about you, Jen?
I'm not particularly excited about football this year.
Nope. There it is.
Sorry. And I have been a Browns fan, and I'm not not a Browns fan. I grew up watching football with my dad, so lots of great memories about that. But
were the Browns good back then? That was before my time. So
yes, the Browns were good back then. But anyway, it's been so hard to watch them for so many years that I can't say that I'm super excited about football season.
You could always come to the dark side.
My dad would be so disappointed.
He'd
in
roll
me.
over in his grave.
Yes, he would.
All right. So what are you excited about?
Well, I am excited about Samin Nosrat's book, Salt, Fat, Acid,
Samin,
Heat.
Yes.
I think, did I get
awesome.
that right? Is it Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat? I might be getting those mixed
Yeah,
up.
I think so.
Anyway, if you haven't seen the Netflix documentary that she did, it's excellent. And before that documentary was a thing, she wrote a book. And I have been cooking for 20 plus years. And I will just say that this book is completely elevating my game. In addition to just feeling more confident with when you have various ingredients, like swapping them out or doing.
So tell us something about salt and meat.
That you need to plan ahead with your salting. That the meat.
So brining.
Well, not just brining, but even just like coating with the appropriate amount of salt a day before you want to cook the meat and wrapping it up, because meat should be salted essentially from the inside out. Samin talks about that as the salt does it's scientific. She actually, for those of you who are science geeks,
sounds like something I want to.
Yep. So for those of you who love to hear the science behind cooking, she really delves into that and talks about how salt works. But just to be brief, the concept of salting from the inside out, you have to plan in advance to let that salt do its work, like overnight. Doesn't take much time, just takes a little bit of planning ahead, and it makes such a difference in the cooking. So that's
all right,
I'm kind of excited about Samin. What am I learning about on the job? I mean, just a quick side note. If you hadn't already heard, QR codes are making a big comeback thanks to COVID. A lot of touchless communication. QR code technology has advanced quite a bit from back in 2010 when everybody thought QR codes were going to be the next big thing.
Do you need a special app?
No, that's
QR codes?
So that's the beauty of it. Now your phone camera will work with QR codes. All you have to do, and this might be, people may already, who are listening, might be, oh yeah, I already know this, but for maybe those of you that don't, all you have to do now is get out your camera, take a picture, and the website link automatically pops up. So
that's pretty fancy.
So QR codes, if you're not.
So I guess phones have advanced too.
Right. Yeah. So the technology around QR codes and making them user-friendly and seamless has come a long way, and just in time for the need for touchless
and how does that apply to digital marketing?
Well, anytime you want to bring a real life experience that someone might be having to the digital world, it's ideal. So, I mean, obviously the place that I first started seeing them quite a bit was restaurants with the menus. So you didn't have to get a paper menu or, menu that you touched. They would just give you a QR code and the menu would pop right up.
Cool.
Again, anytime if you want to if there's some instructions, like, if you're in a public place, like it could be a hospital lobby or something else, and, you want to communicate with, patients and their families, for example, of, information they need to know when they enter, that's a great way to do it. A quick QR code for them to get the information online.
Awesome.
And for me, going forward, one of the things that I'm going to be doing a deep dive into, strategic thinking is one of the things that's super important to us here at Data Dames, because without it, most of the things that we do don't get implemented well and don't end up getting results. So strategic thinking is very important. But I'm also doing a deep dive into some design thinking, which is more about creating things for the end user. And it's not just in digital marketing, and it's not just, it's a whole way of thinking that from architecture to Apple iPods and iPhones and everything, design thinking has often been behind some of those revolutionary ideas. And even beyond design thinking, I'm very interested in learning more about where design thinking and strategic come together. And that is, either design strategy or, strategic design, tomato, whichever way you want to say that. So that's something I'm just getting started with.
Awesome. So look out. Data Dames may design the next Tesla.
Okay, highly unlikely, but we want to be better marketers. So I think. All right. So next time we'll be talking about content, and I will be doing even more talking than I usually do. So that'll be next time.
All right, make sure you guys show up for that.
I know. So we hope that you've enjoyed this episode. We would love to connect with you. Again, datadamesmarketing.com. You can connect with me on Twitter. I'm there fairly often at Gen Z Writer.
I'm at A Hilliard M. Catch you on the flip.